You gonna get that or what? Josie dries her hands on her apron, the fabric already stained beyond redemption, and pulls out her phone. The number on the screen makes her stomach drop. Sunbrook Academy. The fancy daycare she can barely afford. The one she scrubbed toilets and picked up double shifts to pay for because everyone said it was the best in the city. Hello? Ms. Hartwell? The voice on the other end is crisp, professional, with an edge of barely concealed panic. This is Director Chen from Sunbrook Academy. We need you to come pick up your son immediately. Josie's heart lurches. Is he hurt? Is Finn okay? He's not injured, but there's a pause, and Josie can hear crying in the background. Not just crying, screaming. That's her boy. She'd know his voice anywhere. Ms. Hartwell, Finn has been inconsolable for the past 2 hours. He keeps crying for someone named Mama, and he's becoming quite disruptive. I'm his mama, Josie interrupts, confused. I'll come right now. No, Ms. Hartwell, you don't understand. Director Chen's voice drops lower, and there's something strange in her tone now. Something that sounds almost like fear. He's not asking for you. He keeps saying he wants Mama, but when we tried to explain that you're at work, he became even more upset. He's insisting that his real Mama is coming, that she'll be here soon. And then, another pause. Before we continue, please prove my mom wrong. She says I can't hit 1,000 subscribers. Okay, let's continue. Then he said something about her being married to his papa, and that his papa is a king. The words don't make sense. Josie stands there in the greasy diner kitchen, water dripping from her hands onto the cracked linoleum floor, trying to process what she's hearing. A king? She repeats dumbly. Ms. Hartwell, we've never had a situation quite like this. Your son is 4 years old, but he's speaking with complete certainty about things that, well, frankly, we're concerned. We need you to come get him. Now. I'm on my way. She hangs up before Director Chen can say anything else, already untying her apron with shaking fingers. May appears in front of her, arms crossed, and Josie doesn't even have to say it. Emergency with Finn, Josie explains, grabbing her jacket from the hook by the back door. I have to go. You leave now. Don't bother coming back for your evening shift. May, please. I mean it, Josie. We're already short-staffed. You walk out that door, you're done for the day. Josie looks at her boss, at this woman who's never shown her an ounce of kindness in the 8 months she's worked here, and makes the only choice she can. Fine. She's out the door before May can respond, jogging toward the bus stop, even though her feet are killing her. The November wind cuts through her thin jacket, and she wraps her arms around herself, trying not to think about the tips she's losing, the shift she'd just sacrificed. Finn needs her. That's all that matters. The bus takes forever. Josie watches the city slide past the grimy windows, the glossy high-rises giving way to older buildings, then to the polished neighborhood where Sunbrook Academy sits like a pristine jewel among manicured lawns. She doesn't belong here. She knows it every time she drops Finn off, sees the other parents in their expensive cars, their designer clothes, their easy smiles that come from never having to choose between groceries and electricity. But Finn deserves the best. He deserves everything she never had. When she finally pushes through the academy's heavy glass doors, she can still hear him. His cries echo down the hallway, raw and desperate, and Josie's heart breaks a little more with each sob. Director Chen meets her in the lobby, and the woman looks frazzled in a way Josie has never seen. Her usually perfect black hair has escaped its bun in several places, and there's what looks like marker on her cream-colored blouse. Ms. Hartwell, thank goodness. He's in the quiet room with Miss Sarah, but where is he? Director Chen leads her down the hall, past the bright classrooms with their cheerful posters and expensive educational toys. Josie can feel the stares of other teachers, sees parents picking up their own children early, whispering to each other. Heat crawls up her neck. This is exactly the kind of attention she's spent years trying to avoid. The quiet room is at the end of the hall, and through the window, Josie can see her son. Finn is curled up in a ball on a beanbag chair, his dark curls plastered to his forehead with sweat and tears. Miss Sarah, a young teacher who's always been kind to them, kneels beside him, looking helpless. Josie pushes the door open. Finn, baby, I'm here. Her son looks up, and his face crumples even more. "You're not my mama." The words hit like a physical blow. Josie staggers back a step, and behind her, Director Chen makes a soft noise of dismay. "Finn, sweetheart, it's me. It's Mama." "No." He's on his feet now, his small hands balled into fists. "You're Josie. You're nice, and you take care of me, but you're not my real mama. My real mama is coming, and she's bringing Papa, and Papa's gonna be so mad that you people made me cry." Josie has no idea what to say. Her son stares at her with eyes that are far too old for his face, far too certain, and something cold slithers down her spine. "Finn, I don't understand." "He's been saying this for 2 hours," Director Chen interjects quietly. "We tried calling you immediately, but—" "My Papa is a king," Finn continues, his voice taking on an eerie calm. "He's the king of the North, and my mama is his queen, and they're going to come get me because I need them. I need my real mama." "Who told you this?" Josie asks, dropping to her knees in front of him. "Finn, who's been telling you stories." "It's not a story." His face reddens again, fresh tears spilling down his cheeks. "Why doesn't anyone believe me? I remember my mama. She smells like moonflowers, and she sings to me at night. And Papa is tall and he has silver eyes, and he promised he'd never let anything hurt me. And I want them. I want them. I want them." He dissolves into sobs again, and Josie reaches for him, but he pulls away. Her arms fall empty to her sides. "Maybe we should call someone," Miss Sarah suggests softly. "A child psychologist or—" "I'm taking him home," Josie says firmly, though her voice shakes. "Come on, Finn, let's go." "I'm not leaving," Finn shouts. "Not until Mama comes. She's coming, I can feel it. She's almost here." The lights flicker. It's subtle at first, just a brief dimming that could be explained by old wiring or a passing cloud. But then they flicker again, and the temperature in the room drops so suddenly that Josie can see her breath mist in the air. Director Chen gasps. Miss Sarah takes a step backward, her face pale. "What's happening?" Director Chen whispers. Josie doesn't answer. She can't. Because there's something else now. Something she feels more than hears. A presence, vast and ancient and utterly terrifying, pressing against the walls of the building like a predator circling its prey. The front door of the academy slams open. The sound echoes through the hallways like a gunshot, and then there are footsteps. Not the soft shuffle of parents in sneakers, or the click of teachers' sensible shoes. These are different. Purposeful, heavy, accompanied by something else, a whisper of fabric, the faint jingle of what might be jewelry or metal. "Oh my God," Miss Sarah breathes. "Who is that?" Through the window of the quiet room, Josie sees them. A woman strides down the hallway, and calling her beautiful would be like calling the ocean wet, technically accurate but entirely insufficient. She's tall, with pale skin that seems to glow in the fluorescent lighting, and long silver hair that cascades down her back like a river of moonlight. She's dressed in clothes that look both ancient and timeless, a deep blue gown that moves around her like water, silver jewelry at her throat and wrists that catches the light with every movement. But it's her eyes that make Josie's breath catch. Even from here, even through the window, she can see them. They're silver, the color of starlight, and they blaze with an emotion so intense it makes Josie want to look away. Behind the woman, slightly back and to the side, walks a man. If the woman is beautiful, the man is devastating. He towers over everyone, easily 6.5 feet tall, with broad shoulders and a presence that makes the air itself seem to bend around him. His hair is dark, almost black, and his face could have been carved from marble by an artist who understood both cruelty and grace. He wears what looks like an expensive suit, perfectly tailored, but there's something about him that suggests the clothes are a concession to modern society, rather than his true nature. His eyes are silver, too. The same impossible silver as the woman's as... "Mama!" Finn screams the word with such joy, such absolute certainty. that it tears something in Josie's chest. He's past her before she can react, shoving open the door and running into the hallway. The silver-haired woman drops to her knees, and Finn throws himself into her arms with the force of a small missile. "Mama, Mama, you came! I knew you'd come! Oh, my darling, my sweet boy." The woman's voice is like music, rich and deep and full of such raw love that Josie feels like an intruder just hearing it. She wraps Finn in her arms, pressing kisses to his hair, his forehead, his cheeks, and Finn clings to her like he's drowning, and she's the only solid thing in the world. The man, the king, if Finn's stories are to be believed, moves forward and places one large hand on Finn's back. When he speaks, his voice is quiet, but carries through the hallway like thunder. "You're safe now, son." "We have you." Josie stumbles out of the quiet room on numb legs. Director Chen and Miss Sarah follow, and several other teachers have emerged from classrooms, drawn by the commotion. Everyone stares at the impossible scene in front of them. The woman stands, lifting Finn with an ease that suggests he weighs nothing at all, and turns to face them. Her silver eyes sweep the hallway, and when they land on Director Chen, the temperature drops another few degrees. "You called my son disruptive," she says softly. Each word is perfectly enunciated, perfectly controlled, and absolutely terrifying. You told him he was imagining things. You tried to convince him that his mother, his real mother, didn't exist. We didn't," Director Chen stammers, her earlier professionalism shredding like tissue paper. "We were told that Ms. Hartwell is his mother." "Josie has been caring for our son," the man interrupts, his silver gaze sliding to Josie. She feels pinned by it, like a butterfly under glass. "And for that, we are grateful. But she is his guardian, not his mother." "I don't understand," Josie hears herself say. "Finn is my son. I adopted him when he was 6 months old. The agency said his parents were..." "Dead?" The woman's laugh is bitter. "No, we were asleep. There's a difference." "Asleep," Director Chen echoes faintly. The man exchanges a glance with the woman, and something passes between them. A conversation without words, loaded with meaning Josie can't decipher. "My name is Gideon Thrale," he says finally. "This is my wife, Corvina. And Finn is our son. Our only child, taken from us during what your kind would call hibernation. We've been searching for him for 3 years. "That's impossible," Miss Sarah whispers. "Vampires aren't real." Corvina smiles, and it's not a pleasant expression. "Aren't we?" She doesn't do anything dramatic, doesn't flash fangs or demonstrate superhuman strength. But something in her smile, in the way she holds Finn against her hip, like he's the most precious thing in existence, makes belief suddenly very easy. "This is insane," Director Chen says, but her voice shakes. "I'm calling the police. I wouldn't recommend that." Gideon takes a single step forward, and Director Chen retreats so quickly she nearly trips. "My son was taken from his home. He was sold through illegal channels to an adoption agency that should never have had access to him. For 3 years he's lived with a guardian who, while kind, is not his mother. He has been separated from his people, his heritage, his birthright. Ms. Hartwell has legal custody," Director Chen tries, but her voice is barely a whisper now. "Ms. Hartwell has paperwork," Gideon corrects. "Paperwork that was filed based on fraud and deception. We have something much older than your human laws. We have blood, we have truth, and we have power." The lights flicker again, and this time every single bulb in the hallway explodes simultaneously. Glass rains down and people scream, ducking and covering their heads. But around Corvina, Gideon, and Finn, there's a bubble of absolute stillness. Not a single shard touches them. When the screaming stops, when people slowly straighten and look around at the darkened hallway lit only by emergency lights, Gideon speaks again. "We will be taking our son home now. If anyone attempts to stop us, they will regret it." "Wait," Josie hears herself say. Everyone turns to look at her, Director Chen with her terrified face, Miss Sarah with her wide eyes, the handful of other teachers and parents who've witnessed this impossible scene, and Corvina and Gideon, these creatures who claim to be Finn's real parents, who radiate power and danger and an otherworldly grace that makes Josie's hands shake. But she makes herself look at Finn, her boy. The child she's raised for over 3 years, who learned to walk in her cramped apartment, who says his prayers before bed, who still sometimes wakes up crying from nightmares she can't soothe away. Except now, cradled in Corvina's arms, he's not crying. He's smiling. His small hand is buried in Corvina's silver hair. And he's babbling to her in a language Josie doesn't recognize, and Corvina is responding in the same language, her voice soft and full of wonder. "Is this real?" Josie asks. "Is he really your son?" Corvina meets her gaze, and for the first time, there's something other than cold fury in those silver eyes. "Look at his eyes," she says quietly. Josie does. She looks at Finn's eyes, the eyes she's looked into 1,000 times, the eyes that always seemed a little too bright, a little too knowing. And now, in the dim emergency lighting, she sees it. They're starting to shift. The brown she's always known is fading at the edges, replaced by something else. Something silver. "Oh God," Josie breathes. "We never stopped looking for him," Gideon says, and there's a rawness in his voice now, a crack in that terrifying composure. "Every night for 3 years we searched. We followed every lead, tracked down every criminal, destroyed every obstacle in our path, and we finally found the paper trail that led to you." "You're not in trouble," Corvina adds, and she sounds almost gentle. "From what we've learned, you've cared for our son with kindness. You've kept him safe when we couldn't. For that, you have our gratitude." "But he's ours," Gideon finishes. "He was always ours, and we're taking him home." Josie wants to argue, wants to scream that they can't just appear out of nowhere and claim her child, her son, the boy she's loved and raised and sacrificed everything for. But the words die in her throat because Finn is looking at her now, and there's something apologetic in his expression. "I'm sorry, Josie," he says, and his voice is clearer than she's ever heard it. The lisp he's had since he started talking is gone. "You were really nice to me, but I need to go home now. I need to be with my real family. It shouldn't hurt this much. She's always known on some level that he wasn't really hers, that adoption is complicated, that biological parents have rights, that the system is messy and broken. But she never imagined this. Never imagined losing him to creatures out of mythology, to a king and queen who command darkness and shatter lights with their mere presence. "Can I—" her voice breaks. "Can I say goodbye?" Corvina looks at Gideon. Some wordless communication passes between them, and then she nods. Josie approaches slowly, aware of every eye on her, aware of the power thrumming in the air around these creatures who claim to be Finn's parents. When she's close enough, Finn reaches out one small hand and touches her cheek. "Thank you for the bedtime stories," he says, "and for the pancakes on Sundays, and for letting me sleep in your bed when I had bad dreams." Tears stream down Josie's face. She doesn't try to stop them. "You're welcome, baby. You be good for your mama and papa, okay?" "I will." He leans forward and kisses her cheek, a quick press of lips that's so innocent, so pure, that it breaks her heart all over again. "Bye, Josie." "Bye, Finn." Corvina shifts him back against her hip and reaches into a pocket in her gown. She pulls out a small velvet bag and holds it out to Josie. "For your kindness," she says. "For the years you gave him when we couldn't. You'll find that your financial difficulties are over. Consider it payment for services rendered." Josie takes the bag automatically. It's heavy, and when she loosens the drawstring and peers inside, she sees gold. Actual gold coins, stamped with unfamiliar symbols, gleaming in the emergency lighting. "I can't. You can, and you will," Gideon says firmly. "Our son speaks of you with affection. You did not abuse him or neglect him. You cared for him to the best of your abilities, despite your circumstances. For that, you deserve compensation. Plus, Corvina adds, and there's a hint of steel in her voice now, if we hear that you've spoken to the media, or the police, or anyone else about what happened here today, we will be very disappointed. And you don't want to disappoint us, Ms. Hartwell. It's a threat wrapped in politeness, and Josie nods quickly. I won't say anything. I promise. Good. Corvina turns to Director Chen, who looks like she might faint. The same goes for everyone here. This incident will be recorded as a family emergency and nothing more. Anyone who speaks of it will find themselves facing consequences they cannot imagine. Are we clear? Director Chen nods mutely. Several teachers do the same. A parent in the back of the group clutches her own child closer and whispers something that sounds like a prayer. Gideon surveys the assembled humans with cold silver eyes. My son will not be returning to this facility. His education will continue elsewhere. All records of his attendance here will be destroyed. We were never here. Yes, Director Chen manages. Of course, whatever you want. What we want, Gideon says softly, is to go home with our child. Come, Corvina. They turn as one, moving with an inhuman grace that makes Josie's stomach churn. Corvina keeps Finn cradled against her, and Gideon walks beside them, one hand resting protectively on Finn's back. As they reach the end of the hallway, Finn looks back over his mother's shoulder. He waves. It's such a normal, childish gesture, a 4-year-old saying goodbye, that for a moment, Josie can almost pretend this is all a strange dream, that she'll wake up in her tiny apartment, and Finn will be in his bed, and they'll have pancakes on Sunday like always. But then they're gone, disappeared into the afternoon sunlight that streams through the academy's front doors, and Josie is left standing in a hallway full of shattered glass and shocked faces, clutching a bag of gold coins that feels like blood money. Ms. Hartwell, Director Chen says weakly, I think you should go home. Josie nods. She doesn't trust herself to speak. She just turns and walks toward the exit, her feet crunching on glass, the bag of coins heavy in her hand. The bus ride home is a blur. She stares out the window, seeing nothing, the bag tucked inside her jacket where no one can see it. When she finally makes it back to her apartment, the tiny studio with its water stains and creaky floorboards, she locks the door behind her and slides down to sit on the floor. Only then does she let herself cry in earnest. Great heaving sobs that shake her whole body, grief pouring out of her for the child who was never really hers, for the life she thought they'd have together, for the innocence she's lost in the space of a single afternoon. When the tears finally stop, she sits there in the growing darkness, too exhausted to even turn on the lights. The bag of coins rests beside her, and after a long moment she opens it again. There's a note inside that she didn't see before, written on thick paper in an elegant hand. Ms. Hartwell, our son will remember you. He will remember your kindness, your sacrifice, the love you showed him when you had no obligation to do so. That is a gift we can never fully repay. The coins will cover your debts and provide security for your future. Use them wisely, and know that while Finn must remain with us, where he belongs, you will always be the human who kept him safe when we could not. With gratitude, Corvina and Gideon Thrail, the Northern Court Josie, reads the note 3 times before carefully folding it and putting it back in the bag. Then she sits there in the darkness, and she thinks about everything she's lost and everything she's gained, and she tries to figure out how to move forward from here. 3 days later, the bag of coins turns out to be worth more than Josie made in the last 5 years combined. She pays off her debts, quits her job at the diner, and enrolls in the nursing program she's always dreamed about. She gets a better apartment, one with heat that works and floors that don't creak, and she tries very hard not to think about silver eyes, and moonflower perfume, and a boy who called her by her name instead of Mama. She doesn't tell anyone what happened. She invents a story about Finn's biological family appearing with proper documentation, about a custody arrangement that was always temporary, about how she always knew this day might come. People believe her because they want to believe her, because the truth is too strange and too frightening to be real. But at night, sometimes, when she can't sleep, Josie stands at her window and looks out at the darkness. And she wonders about a kingdom in the north, about a boy growing up among creatures of legend, about parents who loved their child so much they searched for 3 years to find him. She wonders if Finn ever thinks about pancakes on Sundays. She wonders if he's happy. And deep down, in a place she doesn't like to examine too closely, she hopes that he is. Because whatever else those creatures might be, terrifying, powerful, inhuman, they're also parents who would tear the world apart to get their child back. And maybe that's the truest kind of love there is. 6 months pass. Josie is 3 months into her nursing program, and she's discovering that she's good at it. Really good. The material comes easily to her, and her instructors praise her bedside manner, her calm in crisis situations, her genuine care for patients. She's making friends, real friends, not just people she works with. And for the first time in years, she feels like she's building something that belongs to her. But there's still an empty space inside her that nothing seems to fill. She's walking home from class on a Tuesday evening, her backpack heavy with textbooks, when she notices the car. It's not just any car. It's a sleek, black vehicle that looks like it costs more than her entire apartment building, parked incongruously on her shabby street. And leaning against it, arms crossed, is a woman with silver hair that catches the last light of the setting sun. Josie's heart stops. Corvina straightens when she sees her, and Josie's first instinct is to run. But her feet carry her forward instead, pulled by a curiosity she can't quite name. "Ms. Hartwell," Corvina says as she approaches. "I hope I'm not intruding." No, I mean... Josie's mind races. Is Finn okay? A smile crosses Corvina's face, and it's so different from the cold fury she displayed at the academy that Josie almost doesn't recognize her. He's wonderful, growing like a weed, as you humans say. He's already starting to exhibit his abilities, which is early even for our kind. That's good. I'm glad he's doing well. They stand there awkwardly, human and vampire, guardian and mother, separated by a gulf that seems impossible to cross. "I came to thank you," Corvina says finally. Properly, I mean. Not just with gold, but with words. What you did for our son, caring for him, keeping him safe, loving him even though you knew adoption meant he might have parents somewhere. That took courage and kindness, and we wanted you to know that we see that. Josie's throat tightens. I loved him. Love him. I know he's not mine anymore, but I can't just turn that off. We would never ask you to. Corvina reaches into her jacket and pulls out an envelope. This is for you. Inside you'll find an address. It's not our primary residence, obviously. We're very private people. But it's a place where you can send letters if you wish. Finn asks about you sometimes, about the pancakes, about the bedtime stories. Josie takes the envelope with shaking hands. Really? Really. We can't offer you a place in his daily life. Our world is too dangerous, too different from yours. But if you want to send him letters, tell him about your nursing program, share parts of your life with him, we won't stop you. He deserves to remember the human who showed him kindness. Tears prick at Josie's eyes. Thank you. Thank you so much. No. Thank you, Ms. Hartwell. You gave us back our son. You kept him safe when we couldn't. That's a debt we'll carry for the rest of our very long lives. Corvina turns to go, then pauses and looks back. He's happy, she says softly. In case you were wondering, he plays with other children of the court. He's learning our history, our language. He trains with his father every evening and reads with me every morning. And sometimes, when we make him breakfast, he asks if we can make it like Josie used to. A sob breaks free from Josie's chest, but she's smiling through her tears. Burned on one side? Burned on one side, Corvina confirms, and her smile is almost warm. Goodbye, Ms. Hartwell. Be well. She slides into the car, and it pulls away with barely a whisper of sound. Josie stands there on the sidewalk, envelope clutched to her chest, and watches until the taillights disappear around a corner. That night she sits at her small desk in her apartment and pulls out a piece of paper. She thinks for a long time about what to write, about how to put into words everything she feels. Finally she begins. Dear Finn, I hope this letter finds you well. Your mother, your real mother, visited me today. She told me you sometimes think about the pancakes we used to make together. She writes for hours, telling him about her nursing program, about the patients she's helping, about the life she's building with the gifts his parents gave her. She tells him she's proud of him, that she hopes he's learning lots of wonderful things, that she knows he'll grow up to be amazing. And at the end she writes, "You'll always have a special place in my heart, Finn. Always. Be happy. Be safe. And maybe, someday, if your parents allow it, we can have pancakes together again. Love, Josie." She seals the letter, addresses the envelope, and walks to the corner mailbox, even though it's late and she has class early in the morning. She drops it in, and as she hears it hit the bottom of the box, she feels something shift inside her. Not healing, exactly. The loss of Finn will always hurt, will always be a tender place in her heart. But there's something else now, too. A sense of rightness, of a story that might not have the ending she wanted, but has an ending that makes sense. Finn is where he belongs, with parents who love him fiercely. And Josie is building a life of her own, one where she can help other people, other families, other children. It's not the life she imagined when she first held a 6-month-old baby with impossibly bright eyes and thought, "This is my son." But it's a good life anyway. And sometimes on dark nights when the moon is full, she looks out her window at the northern sky and sends a silent wish into the darkness, for a boy with silver eyes, for parents who would tear the world apart to keep him safe, for a family reunited across impossible odds. And she hopes, with every fiber of her being, that somewhere in that vast darkness, they're happy. That they're together. 2 years pass in a rhythm of letters and learning. Josie graduates from her nursing program at the top of her class and gets a job at Metro General Hospital, working in the pediatric ward. She loves it, the chaos, the crying children who need comfort, the grateful parents, the sense that she's finally doing something that matters. And every month, like clockwork, she writes to Finn. He writes back. The letters come on thick cream paper, his handwriting growing steadier with each one, his vocabulary expanding in ways that make her simultaneously proud and wistful. He tells her about learning to use his night vision, about sword training with his father, about the time he accidentally made all the flowers in the courtyard bloom in the middle of winter. He signs them, "Your friend," Finn, and sometimes includes drawings, castles with impossible spires, creatures she doesn't recognize, a figure with long silver hair labeled Mama, and another tall figure labeled Papa. She keeps every single one in a box under her bed. It's a Thursday afternoon in March when everything falls apart. Josie is in the middle of her shift, checking vitals on a 7-year-old recovering from appendix surgery, when her phone buzzes. She ignores it, hospital policy, but it buzzes again. And again. By the 4th buzz, the mother of her patient gives her a pointed look. "You should probably check that." Josie apologizes and steps out into the hallway, pulling out her phone. Her heart drops when she sees the name on the screen. Her mother. They haven't spoken in over a year. Not since their last fight about Josie wasting her life, raising someone else's kid instead of finding a husband and giving her real grandchildren. She almost doesn't answer. But something, instinct, worry, the ghost of daughterly duty, makes her swipe to accept. "Mom?" "Josie, thank God." Her mother's voice is shrill, panicked in a way Josie has never heard before. "You need to come to my house right now. Right now, do you understand? I'm at work, I can't just... Your brother is here with some very scary people, and they're asking about Finn. They're saying things, Josie. Terrible things about monsters and blood, and..." Her voice breaks into a sob. "They have knives. They have silver knives, and they're saying they know where to find him, but they need you to help them." The world tilts sideways. Josie grabs the wall to steady herself, her heart hammering so hard she can barely breathe. "Don't tell them anything," she says urgently. "Mom, listen to me. Don't tell them anything about Finn or where he is or... They already know. They found some letters in your old room, the ones you stored in my attic when you moved, and they're reading them right now." Ice floods Josie's veins. The letters. The early letters from Finn, before she learned to be more careful about details. The ones where he mentioned the Northern Court, where he described his home, where he— "I'm coming," Josie interrupts. 20 minutes. Don't let them leave. She hangs up and runs, past nurses calling her name, past doctors asking what's wrong, past patients and families and all the normal Thursday afternoon hospital activity. She doesn't stop until she's in her car, engine roaring to life, tires squealing as she peels out of the parking lot. Her brother, her useless, gambling-addicted, constantly in debt older brother who she hasn't seen in 3 years. Of course he'd get mixed up in something like this. Of course he'd find a way to endanger the one good thing, the one pure thing, she's ever been part of. She makes it to her mother's house in 15 minutes, breaking at least a dozen traffic laws. The house is a modest ranch in the suburbs, the kind of place that looks aggressively normal. But there's a black van parked in the driveway, and when Josie bursts through the front door, she finds her mother huddled on the couch, mascara running down her face. And standing around the living room are 5 people who radiate danger like heat from a fire. They're human, she can tell that immediately. But they're armed. She can see the outline of weapons under jackets, the glint of silver at wrists and throats. And sitting at her mother's kitchen table, looking like he's aged a decade since she last saw him, is her brother, Marcus. "Josie," he says, and his voice is rough. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, but I didn't have a choice." "Shut up." The command comes from a woman standing by the window. She's tall and lean, with short dark hair and eyes like chips of flint. "You must be Josie Hartwell. We've been looking for you." "Who are you?" Josie demands, even though her hands are shaking. "What do you want?" "My name is Helena Cross. I represent an organization dedicated to protecting humanity from supernatural threats." She says it casually, like she's discussing the weather. "Your brother owes some very dangerous people a great deal of money. People who have connections to my organization. When he couldn't pay, he offered us information instead. Information about a vampire child being raised in secret. A child of royal blood." "I don't know what you're talking about." Helena holds up a letter. Josie recognizes the paper, the careful handwriting. Finn writes about the Northern Court, about King Gideon and Queen Corvina, about training exercises and blood ceremonies, and all sorts of fascinating details. Your brother was very helpful in retrieving these from your mother's attic. Marcus won't meet her eyes. "They were going to kill me, Joe. They were going to— So you gave them Finn instead?" Josie's voice comes out as a hiss. "A child? You gave them a child?" "Not just any child," Helena interrupts smoothly. "The heir to one of the most powerful vampire courts in the world." "Do you have any idea what kind of leverage that gives us? What we can accomplish with that kind of bargaining chip?" The room spins. Josie grabs the back of the couch to steady herself. You can't touch him. We can, and we will, unless you help us." "Why would I help you?" Helena walks closer, and Josie can smell something acrid on her. Gunpowder, maybe, or some kind of chemical. "Because if you don't, we'll kill your entire family, your mother, your worthless brother, you. And then we'll go after the child anyway, but it'll be messier, more violent. Is that what you want?" Josie looks at her mother, who's sobbing into her hands. At Marcus, who looks like he wants to disappear into the floor. At the armed people positioned around the room like predators. "What do you want me to do?" she asks quietly. "We need you to deliver a message to the Northern Court. You're the only human who has regular contact with them, the only one they might trust. You'll tell them that we have information about a threat to their son, that they need to meet with us, alone, at a location of our choosing." "And then what?" Helena's smile is cold. "And then we negotiate. Vampires have been operating in the shadows for centuries, preying on humans, bending our systems to their will. It's time for that to change. With the heir as our guest, we can force concessions. Territory, resources, maybe even a treaty that actually protects human interests." "You mean you're going to hold him hostage?" "We prefer the term diplomatic custody." Josie's mind races. She could refuse, could tell them to go to hell, that she'll never betray Finn or his parents. But then they'd kill her family and go after Finn anyway, and at least this way she has a chance to warn them. Wait, an idea forms, terrible and dangerous and possibly suicidal. but it's the only one she has. "Okay," she says. "I'll do it. But I need to write the message myself. They won't trust anything that doesn't sound like me." Helena considers this, then nods. "Fine, but we'll review it before you send it. And one of my people will be watching when you deliver it." "How am I supposed to deliver it? I only have an address for letters." "Then I suggest you drive there. According to the letters, it's a P.O. box in a town about 3 hours north. Someone will be monitoring it. Leave your message, and they'll find it." Josie nods slowly. Her mother is still crying, and Marcus won't look at her. And she hates them both in this moment with a fury that surprises her. But she pushes it down, locks it away, and focuses on what matters. "Give me paper and a pen." Helena provides both, and Josie sits at the kitchen table, painfully aware of the eyes watching her. She writes carefully, choosing each word with precision. "Dear Corvina and Gideon, I'm writing to warn you about a serious threat. There are people, hunters I think, who know about Finn. They have some of my old letters and they're planning to use them to find him. They want to take him hostage to force you into some kind of negotiation. I'm so sorry. I never meant for this to happen. I thought the letters were safe. Please be careful. Please protect him. They're making me deliver this message personally to the P.O. box. They'll be watching to make sure I do it. I think they're hoping you'll come to me, that they can follow you back to Finn. Don't come. Don't trust this. Just take Finn and run. I'm sorry." Josie, she slides the letter across the table to Helena, who reads it carefully. For a long moment, the woman says nothing, and Josie's heart pounds so hard she's sure everyone can hear it. "This will work," Helena says finally. "Good. You'll leave in 1 hour. Devin will accompany you." She gestures to a large man with a scarred face who's been standing silently by the door. "He'll make sure you don't try anything heroic." Josie nods. She doesn't trust herself to speak. The drive north is 3 hours of hell. Devin sits in the passenger seat, saying nothing, one hand resting on what she's sure is a weapon. Josie keeps her hands steady on the wheel and her eyes on the road. And she prays to a God she's not sure she believes in that her plan will work. Because the letter is a warning, yes. But it's also a trap, just not the one Helena thinks. Josie knows Corvina and Gideon. She's read 2 years' worth of letters from their son, has pieced together details about their personalities, their priorities, their unwavering devotion to their child. They won't run. They won't hide. They'll come for her because they'll know that she's in danger, that she's being used, and they'll want to stop the threat at its source. Helena thinks she's using Josie to lure the vampires into a trap. But really, Josie is using Helena to bring the vampires to her. It's just a question of whether they'll arrive before the hunters kill her for her betrayal. The P.O. box is in a tiny town that's barely a dot on the map. Devin follows her into the post office, watches as she slides the letter into the box designated for Finn's correspondence. As they walk back to the car, Josie feels the weight of what she's done settle over her like a shroud. "Now what?" she asks. "Now we wait," Devin says. "Get in the car." They drive back to her mother's house in silence. When they arrive, Helena is on the phone, speaking in low, urgent tones. She hangs up when she sees them. "Good. Now we see if they take the bait." She looks at Josie with something that might be respect. "You did well. Maybe you'll survive this after all." Josie doesn't answer. She sits on the couch next to her mother, who's stopped crying but looks like a ghost, and she waits. It takes 4 hours. 4 hours of sitting in that living room with armed hunters, and her terrified mother and her coward brother. 4 hours of watching the windows, the doors, wondering if she's made a fatal miscalculation. And then, just as the sun is setting, the temperature drops. It's sudden and dramatic, like someone opened a door to winter. Breath mists in the air. Frost spreads across the windows in delicate patterns. And Helena's people scramble for their weapons, suddenly looking a lot less confident. "They're here," Helena breathes. "Positions, everyone. Remember, we need them alive." The front door doesn't open. It explodes. Wood and hinges and pieces of frame go flying, and standing in the wreckage are Gideon and Corvina Thrale. They're dressed differently than Josie remembers. More armor than clothing. Dark leather and metal that looks both ancient and deadly. Corvina's silver hair is pulled back in a braid, and her eyes blaze with fury. Gideon looks like death itself given form. You made a mistake, Gideon says quietly, involving Josie Hartwell in your schemes. Helena raises her weapon, some kind of modified crossbow loaded with silver bolts. Don't move. We have your guardian surrounded. One wrong move, and she dies. She's not our guardian, Corvina says coldly. She's our friend, and you've just declared war. Things happen very fast after that. Devon moves toward Josie, reaching for her, and then he's flying backward through the air like he was hit by an invisible truck. Another hunter fires their crossbow, and Corvina moves in a blur of motion, catching the bolt mid-flight and snapping it in half. Gideon raises one hand, and the lights explode in a shower of sparks, plunging the room into darkness, lit only by the last rays of sunset through the broken door. Josie's mother screams. Marcus dives under the table, and Josie feels a hand grab her arm, pulling her down, and then Corvina's voice is in her ear. Stay down! This will be over soon! There are sounds in the darkness, impacts, gasps of pain, the clatter of weapons hitting the floor. Josie crouches behind the couch, her mother pressed against her side, and listens to the hunters being systematically dismantled by two very angry vampire royalty. When the emergency lights finally flicker on, courtesy of Gideon doing something Josie doesn't understand to the electrical system, 5 hunters are unconscious on the floor. Helena is pinned against the wall by Gideon's hand around her throat, her feet dangling 6 inches off the ground. You thought to threaten our son, Gideon says, his voice like gravel. You thought to use a human we care about as bait. You thought you could negotiate with us. We have resources, Helena chokes out. Allies. Kill me, and they'll come, for your child. Then we'll kill them too, Corvina says simply. She's standing over Devon's unconscious form, and there's not a scratch on her. Every single one. We've lived for centuries. We've survived wars, inquisitions, purges. What makes you think your little organization is any different? Please, Josie says, finding her voice. Don't kill her. Don't kill any of them. If you do, they'll just send more. Gideon looks at her, and his expression softens fractionally. You would spare them? After what they tried to do? I'd spare you, Josie says. If you kill humans, even hunters, it'll start a war you might not be able to control. But if you just scare them, make them understand the cost of threatening your family, maybe that's enough. Corvina tilts her head, considering. Then she smiles, and it's terrifying. Very well. We'll do it your way, Josie Hartwell. She moves to Helena, and Gideon releases the woman, who collapses to the floor, gasping. Corvina crouches down so they're eye to eye. You're going to go back to your organization, she says softly. You're going to tell them exactly what happened here. You're going to explain that Finn is under the protection of the Northern Court, and any attempt to harm him will result in consequences beyond their imagining. And then you're going to disband your little hunting operation, find new careers, and never speak of vampires again. Do you understand? And if we don't, Helena gasps, then we won't be so merciful next time. Corvina stands. You have 48 hours to get your people out of our territory. After that, anyone we find with knowledge of our son's location will simply disappear. She says it so casually, like she's discussing grocery shopping, and the ice in her voice leaves no doubt that she means every word. Gideon moves to Josie, helping her to her feet. Are you hurt? No, I'm okay. She looks past him at her brother, still cowering under the table. But Marcus, he's the one who told them about Finn. He sold the information to pay his debts. Gideon follows her gaze, and Marcus whimpers. Please, Marcus begs. I didn't know. I thought they just wanted information. I didn't know they'd go after the kid. Ignorance is not innocence, Gideon says coldly, but you're Josie's brother. So I'll offer you this. Leave. Tonight. Take nothing but the clothes on your back. Disappear so completely that even we can't find you. And if you ever threaten our family again, directly or indirectly, there will be nowhere in this world you can hide." Marcus nods frantically and scrambles out from under the table, running for the door without a backward glance. Josie watches him go and feels nothing. Just a vast emptiness where brotherly affection should be. Her mother clutches Josie's arm. "What's happening? What are these people?" "It's okay, Mom," Josie says gently, though her voice shakes. "They're friends." "They're here to help." Corvina moves to stand beside Gideon, and together they survey the wreckage of the living room. The unconscious hunters, the broken door, the traumatized woman on the couch. "We need to relocate," Gideon says. "If this organization knows about the P.O. box, they might know other details. We'll establish new protocols for communication." "And Finn?" Josie asks, her heart in her throat. "Is he safe?" "He's with guards who would die before letting harm come to him," Corvina assures her. "But yes, we'll be increasing security. This was too close." She looks at Josie, and her expression softens in a way that makes her seem almost human. "You warned us," she says. "Your letter. You knew it would bring us here. You used yourself as bait to draw us into a position where we could eliminate the threat." "I didn't know what else to do," Josie admits. "They were going to come for him anyway. At least this way, you knew about it." "That was incredibly brave," Gideon says. "And incredibly foolish. You could have been killed." "But she wasn't," Corvina says. She reaches out and takes Josie's hand, and her skin is cool and smooth. "Because she trusted us to come for her. And we did." Tears prick at Josie's eyes. "Thank you." "No, thank you." Corvina squeezes her hand once before releasing it. "Finn asks about you constantly. He wants to know when he can see you again. We've been hesitant, given the dangers of our world, but after today..." She exchanges a glance with Gideon. "Perhaps it's time to make an exception." Josie's heart leaps. "Really? I could see him?" "Under controlled circumstances, with heavy security. But yes." Gideon pulls a card from his jacket and hands it to her. "This has a new contact number. Call it when you're ready, and we'll arrange a meeting. Somewhere safe." Josie takes the card with trembling fingers, hardly daring to believe it. "I'd like that. I'd really like that." Around them, the hunters are starting to stir. Helena pushes herself to her feet, one hand pressed to her ribs, murder in her eyes. But when Corvina turns that silver gaze on her, the woman goes very still. 48 hours, Corvina reminds her. "Don't make us come looking for you." Then, as smoothly as they arrived, Gideon and Corvina move toward the broken door. But before they leave, Corvina looks back at Josie one more time. "You're packed now," she says simply. "Under our protection. Anyone who threatens you threatens us. Remember that." And then they're gone, disappeared into the gathering darkness like they were never there at all. Josie stands in the wreckage of her mother's living room, card clutched in her hand, and starts to laugh. It's slightly hysterical, edged with relief and terror and joy all mixed together, and her mother looks at her like she's lost her mind. But Josie doesn't care, because she's going to see Finn again. She's going to see her boy, the child who was never really hers, but who will always hold a piece of her heart. And she's going to tell him about nursing school, and her patients, and how proud she is of him. "Josie," her mother says weakly, "what just happened?" Josie looks at her mother, this woman who let Marcus store boxes in her attic without asking questions. Who never protected Josie the way she should have, who's always been more concerned with appearances than with actual care. "What happened," Josie says calmly, "is that you're going to forget all of this. You're going to forget the hunters. Forget what you learned about Finn. Forget everything. And you're never going to speak about it again. Because if you do, the consequences will be worse than you can imagine." Her mother nods mutely, and Josie feels a savage satisfaction at the fear in her eyes. Helena and her people limp out of the house, carrying their unconscious colleagues. They don't say a word. They just leave, and Josie watches through the broken door as their van pulls away, taillights disappearing into the night. Only then does she let herself collapse onto the couch, exhaustion crashing over her in waves. 3 weeks later, Josie stands in a private park on the outskirts of the city, watching the tree line. It's early evening, and the sun is setting in shades of gold and crimson, and she's so nervous her hands won't stop shaking. A figure emerges from the trees. He's taller than she remembers, his dark curls longer, reaching almost to his shoulders. He's dressed in clothes that look expensive and slightly old-fashioned, and his eyes are pure silver now, no trace of the brown she once knew. But his smile is the same, that bright, joyful smile that used to greet her every morning. "Josie!" Finn breaks into a run, and she drops to her knees just in time to catch him as he barrels into her arms. "Hey, buddy," she manages, her voice thick with tears. "Look at you. You've gotten so big." "I'm learning sword fighting," he says excitedly, pulling back to look at her. "And Papa says I'm really good, and Mama teaches me languages, and I can speak 4 now, and I made a friend who's a wolf shifter and—" He pauses, studying her face. "You're crying. Are you sad?" "No, sweetheart. I'm happy. So happy to see you." Behind Finn, Corvina and Gideon emerge from the tree line, keeping a respectful distance. They're dressed more casually today, but they still radiate power. Corvina nods to Josie, a slight smile on her lips. "I brought you something," Finn says, digging into his pocket. He pulls out a small carved wooden figure, a woman with her arms outstretched, her face peaceful. "I made it in woodworking class. It's supposed to be you, because you always gave the best hugs." Josie takes the figure, her vision blurring with tears. "It's perfect." "Thank you." They sit together on a bench, and Finn tells her everything, about his training, his friends, the time he accidentally turned the throne room's fountain into a geyser. He chatters away like they've never been apart, like the years haven't changed anything essential between them. And Josie listens and laughs and shows him pictures of her patients at the hospital and tells him about the little girl she helped who reminds her of him. And for one perfect hour, they're just a woman and a boy sharing stories in the fading light. When it's time to go, Finn hugs her tightly. "Can we do this again? Please?" "Absolutely," Josie promises. "Whenever your parents say it's okay." "Every month," Corvina says, approaching them. "If you're willing. We think it's important for Finn to maintain connections to the human world. To remember where he came from." "I'd love that," Josie says. She stands, and on impulse she bows slightly to Corvina and Gideon. "Thank you. For everything. For trusting me with him. Even now." "You've earned that trust 100 times over," Gideon says, gravel-voiced. "Your family, Josie Hartwell, in all the ways that matter." Finn takes his parents' hands, one on each side, and they walk back toward the tree line together. But he looks back once, waving enthusiastically, and Josie waves back until they disappear into the gathering shadows. She stands there for a long time after they're gone, the wooden figure clutched in her hand, the evening breeze cool on her face. She thinks about everything she's lost and everything she's gained, about the child who came into her life unexpectedly and changed everything, about the family she helped reunite and the place she's carved for herself in their strange, impossible world. And she thinks about next month, when she'll see Finn again, and the month after that, and all the months to come, building a new kind of relationship. Not mother and son, but something just as precious. Something chosen and maintained and protected by people who understand that love comes in many forms. She smiles, slips the wooden figure into her pocket, and walks back to her car. The sun sets behind her, painting the sky in shades of purple and gold, and Josie Hartwell drives home, knowing that she's exactly where she's supposed to be.